On a cold morning in Toronto, a young waitress named April lets her frustration get the best of her. She thinks the customer is just another entitled woman, and in a cruel act of spite, she dumps a glass of water on her. But April has no idea who the woman she just humiliated is. Snow fell thick and slow over downtown Toronto, clinging to car roofs and streaking the windows of the Silver Birch, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. Inside, the air shimmered with the warmth of polished chandeliers and the low murmur of lunchtime chatter. Waiters in crisp black vests glided between tables, balancing trays of seafood towers and champagne glasses like clockwork. April Hart moved fast among them, her sneakers squeaking faintly on the polished floor. She was on her 6th shift in 4 days, her feet numb and her patience thinner than the snowflakes melting against the glass. Table 5 wants their 3rd bottle of sparkling, called the bartender. April rolled her eyes. Of course they do. Heaven forbid the rich get thirsty. Her coworker, Jenna, smirked from behind the espresso machine. You say that every day. Because it's true every day, April snapped, tucking a stray blonde strand behind her ear. You know what kills me? They'll tip $100 and think that makes them saints. Just smile and take the money, Jenna murmured. You need rent, not a revolution. April sighed, glancing toward the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, people hurried by in coats and scarves, faces flushed from the cold. She envied them. Anyone not trapped under the heavy perfume of wealth. I swear, she muttered, picking up a tray of glasses. The rich think they own the world. One day I'll show them. She didn't know that day had just begun. Angela Walker stepped out of a black sedan parked discreetly across the street. Snowflakes dotted her cream maternity coat as she adjusted the silk scarf around her neck. Her breath came soft and measured in the cold air. She wasn't a woman who sought attention. Even now, with cameras always pointed toward her husband, she preferred to move in silence. Inside the restaurant, the warmth hit her cheeks. She paused near the host stand, smiling politely. Good afternoon, she said. I believe my husband has a reservation. Harry Walker? The young hostess blinked, startled. Oh yes, Mr. Walker has a private dining room reserved for 2 o'clock. You're early, Mrs. Walker, Angela replied gently. I know I'm early. I'll just wait for him here, if that's all right. The hostess nodded, still uncertain, before hurrying off to answer the phone. Angela moved gracefully to a quiet corner table. Her hand rested instinctively on the curve of her stomach, feeling the small flutter beneath her ribs. She smiled. He'll be surprised, she murmured. Across the room, April noticed her. The woman's coat was expensive, yes, but her face was bare of makeup, and her hair, a soft crown of natural curls, looked nothing like the sleek, designer-styled clients April was used to. She wasn't dripping jewelry or carrying a flashy purse. If anything, she looked ordinary. And ordinary didn't belong here. April frowned. Who's that sitting in the corner? She asked Jenna. Dunno, Jenna said. Maybe someone waiting for takeout. This isn't a diner, April muttered. She watched Angela glance around the room politely, her posture calm, almost regal. Something about her serenity annoyed April, the quiet confidence, the way she didn't shrink even as heads turned. When Angela caught her eye and smiled, April looked away, pretending to polish a glass. 10 minutes passed. April was clearing a nearby table when Angela raised her hand slightly. Excuse me, she said, voice gentle. May I have a glass of water, please? April stiffened. We're not taking walk-ins today, she said without looking up. Private events only. Angela's smile didn't falter. Oh, I'm not a walk-in, my husband. Yeah, everyone's got a husband, April interrupted with a tight smile. Sorry, ma'am, we're full. I understand, Angela said softly. I'll just wait quietly here then. She folded her hands, her tone so calm, it made April's irritation spike. Who did she think she was? Sitting there like she owned the place, waiting for someone who probably didn't even exist. April pictured her as one of those women who pretended to belong, who came in hoping to brush shoulders with the wealthy. She didn't notice Jenna giving her a warning glance from the counter. Angela's phone rang. "Hello, darling," she said, her voice low and affectionate. "Yes, I'm already here. Don't worry, take your time." April froze. "Darling?" She lifted her head slightly, curiosity prickling. Angela's tone was intimate, confident, warm. The tone of someone used to being loved, not dismissed. But April's cynicism was quicker than her reason. She muttered under her breath, "Sure, sweetheart. Keep dreaming." When Angela hung up, she leaned to retrieve her purse from the floor. It tipped, spilling a lipstick and a folded envelope onto the tiles. "Ugh," April groaned. "Careful." She strode over, grabbing a cloth from her apron. "You're making a mess in a high-end place." Angela blinked, startled by the sharpness in her voice. "I'm terribly sorry," she said, bending slowly, mindful of her belly. April sighed exaggeratedly and snatched the water jug from her tray. "Here, let me help you cool off." Before anyone could react, she tipped the jug, splashing cold water over Angela's lap. The sound of ice and glass clinking echoed like a gunshot in the silence that followed. Every head turned. Angela gasped softly, more in surprise than fear. The chill seeped through her coat, into her dress, into her skin. She didn't speak. She only looked up at April with a calmness that cut deeper than anger. April's heart pounded, but she forced a smirk. "Maybe next time you'll remember not to sit where you don't belong." The restaurant froze. A couple in the corner whispered. Someone near the bar raised a phone, filming. Angela reached for a napkin, dabbing the water gently from her coat. Her movements were slow, deliberate. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She only said softly, "Do you treat everyone like this, or just women who look like me?" April's smirk faltered. Before she could answer, the main door swung open. A gust of cold air swept through as a tall man in a dark coat entered, flanked by an assistant and two men in tailored suits. Conversation died instantly. Even the hostess straightened, whispering, "Mr. Walker?" April froze mid-breath. Harry Walker's face was familiar from magazine covers and news broadcasts. Canada's youngest self-made billionaire, the visionary founder of Walker Technologies. But in person, he radiated something the photographs never captured. Quiet authority that made the room instinctively still. He scanned the restaurant quickly, the hint of a smile on his lips fading when his gaze landed on the corner table. Angela, soaked, shivering slightly. The world narrowed to a single heartbeat. "Angela," he said, crossing the room in long strides. His assistant stopped short, alarmed. April's pulse quickened as he dropped to his knees beside the woman she'd drenched. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, cupping her cheek. She smiled faintly. "I'm fine, love. Just..." Cold water. April's tray slipped from her hand, crashing to the floor. The manager appeared, pale and sweating. "Mr. Walker, we..." Harry straightened slowly, his expression shifting from worry to steel. "What happened to my wife?" The word hit like a lightning strike. Wife. A collective gasp rippled through the restaurant. Even the hostess covered her mouth. April's vision blurred. Your wife?" Harry turned toward her, eyes narrowing. His voice was low, deadly calm. "Did you pour water on her?" April, still in shock, didn't say anything. Silence thickened. No one dared move. Harry shrugged off his coat and draped it around Angela's shoulders, his hand lingering protectively on her back. Then he turned to the manager, voice hard as glass. "Lock the doors," he said. The manager blinked. "Sir?" "No one leaves," Harry repeated, his eyes fixed on April. "Not until I find out exactly what happened to my wife." The air inside the silver birch felt heavier than snow. Every person in the restaurant stood frozen in the echo of Harry Walker's command. The doors were locked, the murmurs silenced. Even the clink of cutlery had stopped. Harry's voice had shifted from fury to something colder, measured, deliberate. Dangerous. Who poured the water? He asked again. April's throat was dry. The words caught like gravel. I did. Why? She opened her mouth, but her voice cracked. I didn't know she was your wife. I thought... Harry's tone sliced through her excuse. You thought wrong. No one dared move. The other servers stood by the bar, pale as ghosts. The manager wrung his hands, whispering apologies that sounded too small. Angela placed a gentle hand on Harry's arm. Please, she murmured. Let's just leave. But he didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on April. You humiliated her in front of a room full of people, he said softly. You thought she didn't belong. Why? April's chest heaved. I thought she was trespassing, she said, voice trembling. I thought she was making a mess. You poured water on a pregnant woman because of a thought. His words were so calm, so precise. They made April's stomach twist. A man in a gray suit near the back reached slowly for his phone. He wasn't any ordinary diner. He was Daniel Cho, a tech journalist known for covering the lives of billionaires. He had recognized Harry the moment he walked in. Now he saw a story unfolding before him, and his instincts took over. He tilted his phone, camera flashing silently. Harry turned toward the restaurant manager. Call the owner, he said. The man fumbled for his phone, hands shaking. Mr. Walker. Now. Within minutes, the call connected. Harry's voice stayed calm, but his words carried the weight of an empire. Mr. Laurent, he said into the speaker, this is Harry Walker. I'm at your Toronto location. I'd like to report a serious incident. Angela closed her eyes. The entire restaurant could hear the conversation. On the other end, the owner stammered, horrified. Mr. Walker, please. Whatever happened, we'll take full responsibility. We'll discipline the staff. This isn't about me, Harry interrupted sharply. It's about how you treat people who you think don't belong in your world. The line went silent. Daniel Cho's phone buzzed. He glanced down at his screen. The video he'd uploaded seconds earlier, a short clip of the confrontation, already had hundreds of views. The caption was simple. Billionaire Harry Walker demands justice after waitress dumps water on his wife. He hesitated for a moment, then pressed tweet. Within minutes, it would spread like wildfire. Angela leaned against the chair, exhaustion and humiliation pressing down like a weight. She could feel her baby move faintly beneath her ribs as if sensing her turmoil. She whispered, Harry, please. Enough. Harry turned, his eyes softening for the first time since he entered. She hurt you. She hurt herself more, Angela replied. Anger doesn't fix anger. But Harry's fury wasn't simple rage. It was protection. Years of learning how the world could cut her just for existing beside him. He clenched his jaw, saying nothing. Across the room, April stood frozen. The crowd's stares burned into her skin. Every breath felt too loud, every heartbeat too fast. When the owner finally called back, his voice came through the speaker, desperate. Mr. Walker, please accept our deepest apologies. We'll fire her immediately. We'll make a statement. Do that, Harry said flatly. But make sure you understand why. April's face drained of color. Please, she whispered. I didn't mean it. I swear I didn't mean it. Harry's voice was quiet, almost pitying. You didn't mean for her to be my wife, but you meant every word you said to her before you knew. Tears welled in April's eyes. You don't understand. Angela's voice cut gently through the tension. Then help us understand, she said. Why did you do it? April swallowed hard. Because people like me don't belong here either, she blurted. I serve people who never see me. They talk over me, laugh about tips, act like I'm invisible. And when I saw you sitting there, I snapped. The honesty in her voice startled even her. Angela watched her silently, eyes deep with something April didn't recognize. Empathy. Harry exhaled slowly. You're fired, he said simply. And if you're smart, you'll apologize to my wife before security escorts you out. April hesitated, lips trembling. The entire restaurant waited. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry." Then, quieter, bitterly, "You people always think you can pull the race card and—" Gasps erupted. The manager closed his eyes in horror. Someone near the door muttered, "Did she really just say that?" Angela's expression didn't change. She simply looked at April, and in that stillness the shame landed heavier than any shouted curse. Daniel Cho's phone caught the moment, capturing April's words, Angela's silence, and Harry's face, a mixture of disbelief and disgust. The video went online within seconds. By evening, every major outlet had picked it up. Angela Walker trended worldwide. Comment sections exploded. Half the internet condemned April's actions as blatant racism. The other half called it an overreaction. Think pieces sprouted overnight. Talk shows scheduled segments titled The Waitress and the Billionaire. At home, Harry sat at the edge of their bed, scrolling through his phone, his jaw clenched tighter with every post. Angela entered quietly, wrapped in a robe. "You're reading the comments again," she said softly. He didn't look up. "They're calling you a liar, saying you provoked her, that she didn't know who you were. I don't care what they think." "Well, I do." His voice cracked with frustration. "You didn't deserve this." Angela touched his shoulder. Neither did she. Harry turned, startled. "Angela, she's young, angry, probably scared. I saw it in her eyes. She humiliated you. She humiliated herself." Harry stood, pacing the room. "You want me to just forget it?" "No," Angela said, "but I don't want to destroy her. If we crush her, nothing changes. But if we show her, maybe something will." He stared at her, torn between admiration and disbelief. "You really believe that?" Angela nodded. "Someone has to." Across the city, April sat in her small apartment, staring at her phone. Her face was on every screen, the viral villain of the day. She'd been fired. Her manager's call had been short, final, and merciless. Don't come back. Her rent was overdue. Her mother's hospital bills were unpaid. Her social media overflowed with hate messages and threats. She had nowhere to turn, no one to call. In the dim light, she watched herself on the news, hearing her own words played back. "You people always think you can pull the race card." Her stomach twisted. Hearing it out loud, she felt sick. A knock sounded on her door. A neighbor delivering groceries she hadn't ordered. She didn't answer. She just sat there, staring at the flickering television, realizing that her anger had finally eaten her whole life. The next morning, the tabloids printed headlines in bold letters. "Billionaire's wife humiliated by racist waitress." The water that shook Toronto's elite. Angela avoided the media. She stayed home tending to quiet things, folding baby clothes, watching the snow drift across the yard. But her mind kept returning to April's trembling voice, to the flash of regret behind the defiance. That night, she turned to Harry as he packed for a meeting. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "I'll go find her." Harry froze. "What?" "I want to talk to her." He looked at her in disbelief. "Angela, she poured water on you. She humiliated you in front of everyone." Angela's hand rested on her belly. "Exactly. That's why she'll listen to me." Harry frowned. "You're pregnant. You shouldn't be chasing down people who've hurt you." Angela smiled faintly. "I'm not chasing her, Harry. I'm giving her a chance to understand." He exhaled, rubbing his temples. "You're too forgiving." "Maybe," she said. "But forgiveness isn't for her. It's for me." He stared at her, his brilliant, maddening, compassionate wife, and finally nodded. "If you go, I'm sending security with you." Angela shook her head. "If I bring guards, she'll never speak to me. She'll see another billionaire coming to gloat. Then promise me you'll be careful." "I promise." He hesitated, then pulled her into his arms, pressing his forehead against hers. "You're incredible," he whispered. But I don't want this woman anywhere near you. She already is, Angela said quietly. She's in my head, and until I talk to her, she'll stay there. Harry sighed, defeated. You'll never change. Angela smiled softly. That's the idea. Later that night, while Harry slept, Angela stood by the window watching snow fall over the city. The lights of downtown shimmered like distant stars. Somewhere out there, she imagined April, angry, scared, alone, and she felt a strange tug of compassion that wouldn't let go. The world had already condemned her. The internet had shredded her name, her face, her job. Justice had been served in the harshest, most public way. But justice wasn't what Angela wanted. She wanted change. Tomorrow, she decided, she would go to April, not as Harry Walker's wife, not as a billionaire's partner, but as a woman who understood what it meant to be judged before being known. She touched her belly, whispering, "We'll make this right." Outside, snow drifted silently, erasing footprints on the ground, as if the city itself was trying to start over. And in the heart of that cold Canadian night, Angela Walker prepared to do what no one expected. Extend a hand to the woman who had hurt her the most. The morning sky hung low and gray over Toronto. Snow clung to rooftops and telephone wires, the streets slick with slush and silence. Angela Walker stood on the edge of a narrow street lined with old brick apartments, her cream coat buttoned tight against the wind. The air smelled faintly of salt and diesel. She checked the address again. She had made enquiries from the restaurant, and they had given the address. A worn building, number 42, its steps covered in a thin sheet of ice. Her driver hesitated behind her. "Mrs. Walker, are you sure about this?" Angela smiled faintly. "Positive." She climbed the steps slowly, one hand on her belly. The hallway inside smelled of instant noodles and old carpet cleaner. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Apartment 3B's door was slightly ajar, a thin crack of warm air escaping. Angela raised her hand and knocked softly. The door opened halfway, revealing a pale face framed by messy blonde hair. April. Her eyes were rimmed red, her voice hoarse. "What are you doing here?" Angela's tone was calm. "Can I come in for a minute?" April blinked, confusion mixing with fear. "Why? So you can film me too? Haven't I been humiliated enough?" "I'm not here for revenge," Angela said gently. "I just want to talk." For a long moment, April said nothing. Then, reluctantly, she stepped aside. "Fine, but I don't have much to say." The apartment was small, cluttered, and cold. A space heater hummed beside a couch piled with blankets. On the table sat a stack of unpaid bills and a small photo frame, a woman in a hospital bed, smiling weakly. Angela's gaze lingered on it. "Your mother?" April nodded. "Stage 3 cancer. The hospital won't treat her without payment. I've been trying to cover it, but..." She laughed bitterly. "Now I'm unemployed and public enemy number 1. Angela's heart softened. She could see now that beneath the arrogance and anger had always been fear. "I learned about your mother," Angela said quietly, "and about your debt." April's eyes narrowed. "What, did your husband dig into my life?" "No," Angela said. "I did." April crossed her arms. "Why?" "Because I wanted to understand you." April scoffed. "You came all this way to pity me?" "No," Angela replied, her voice steady. "I came to offer help." April blinked. "Help?" "I'll pay for your mother's treatment," Angela said. "Every bill, every procedure, all of it." April froze. "You're joking." "I'm not. Why would you do that after what I did to you?" Angela's gaze was unwavering. "Because I believe people are more than their worst moments." April's throat tightened. "And what do you want in return?" Angela smiled faintly. "A promise." They sat across from each other, the sound of the heater filling the silence. Angela spoke softly. "There's a place I run. The Lighthouse Project. It helps women who've been through hard times, single mothers, immigrants, people starting over. April frowned. You want me to volunteer at some charity? Not some charity, Angela said. Mine. I want you to spend 3 months there. Help, listen, learn, see the people who've lived what you've lived, but who never took their pain out on others. April stared at her. And if I say no, then I'll wish you well and leave, Angela said simply. But your mother's bills will remain unpaid. April's jaw clenched. So it's blackmail. Angela shook her head. No, it's a choice. April turned away, pacing. You don't know what it's like to feel invisible, to serve people who act like you're part of the furniture. Angela's voice softened. You're wrong. I know exactly what it's like. April turned sharply, meeting her gaze, and for the first time she saw the depth in Angela's eyes, the history behind her poise. There was no condescension, no triumph, just understanding. After a long silence, April whispered, 3 months? 3 months, Angela confirmed. April sighed, tears glistening. Fine, I'll do it. Angela smiled gently. Then let's begin. The lighthouse project sat in a converted warehouse near the waterfront. Inside it was warm and bright, walls painted with murals of rising suns and open hands. Volunteers bustled through the kitchen, serving soup to families who lined up outside. April stood at the entrance on her first day, clutching her worn coat. She felt out of place, smaller somehow. A middle-aged woman with a Haitian accent smiled at her. You must be the new volunteer. April, right? Come, I'll show you around. The hours were long. She chopped vegetables, served meals, and folded donated clothes. She listened to women tell stories of losing everything, jobs, homes, family, yet still finding the strength to smile. Each day, something inside April shifted. The bitterness that had fueled her started to thin, replaced by something she hadn't felt in years. Humility. At night, she lay in bed replaying conversations. The immigrant mother who worked 3 jobs to feed her children. The teenage girl who'd run away from abuse but still dreamed of college. April began to see pieces of herself in them. The same fear, the same hunger to be seen, but without the cruelty she had carried. By the 2nd month, she no longer came out of obligation. She came because she wanted to. One morning, while setting tables in the community hall, she saw Angela standing near the entrance, watching quietly. April hesitated, then walked over. You didn't tell me this place was this beautiful. Angela smiled. It wasn't always. It became beautiful because of people like you. April shook her head. I'm not like them. Not yet, Angela said. But you're getting there. They shared a quiet moment, the air heavy with unspoken understanding. Winter melted into early spring. The air softened, the snowbanks shrinking into puddles that reflected pale sunlight. April had changed. The sharpness in her tone had faded, her movements gentler. She laughed with the women she worked beside. She even stayed late to clean, something she would have mocked months ago. She didn't realize how much until the day everything shifted again. It was during a weekend fundraiser. The hall was filled with guests, donors, volunteers, and families the project supported. Angela was there, radiant in a flowing blue dress, greeting people with her calm smile. April was helping serve tea when she noticed Angela clutch her stomach, her expression tightening. Angela? She called. Angela's glass slipped, shattering on the floor. The crowd gasped as she doubled over, pain etched across her face. Call an ambulance, April shouted, rushing forward. She caught Angela just before she fell, lowering her gently to the floor. Breathe, April said, voice trembling. It's okay. I'm here. Angela's hand gripped hers tightly. The baby. You're going to be fine, April said, her heart pounding. Just focus on my voice. The minutes stretched endlessly until sirens wailed outside. April stayed with her until paramedics arrived, refusing to let go of her hand. As they lifted Angela onto the stretcher, she whispered, Tell Harry. April nodded. I already called him. Angela smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. Thank you. 2 weeks later, the news spread. Angela Walker had given birth to a healthy baby girl. Harry's statement to the press was brief. Mother and child were safe, resting at home. April waited outside the lighthouse project every morning, unsure whether she was welcome anymore. She wanted to see Angela, to know the baby was okay, to say the words that had burned in her chest since that night. One afternoon, as she was packing food boxes, a familiar car pulled up. Harry stepped out first, tall and immaculate in a dark coat. Angela followed, glowing, a small bundle cradled in her arms. April froze, her breath catching. Angela smiled. "April," she said softly, "come meet Grace." April's hands trembled as she approached. The baby's face was serene, her tiny fingers curled in sleep. "She's beautiful," April whispered. "She is," Angela said, and she wanted to meet the woman who helped bring her safely into the world. April's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve that." Angela reached out, taking her hand. "You do. Because you've changed." Harry watched silently, his expression unreadable. April turned to him, voice shaking. "I'm so sorry. For everything. For hurting her. For the things I said." Harry's gaze softened. "You hurt the woman I love," he said. "But you also helped her. That counts for something." April nodded, tears spilling freely. "Thank you. For not destroying me when you could have." "It wasn't me," Harry said. "It was her." Angela smiled, her thumb brushing Grace's cheek. "Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones who need to be shown what love looks like." April bowed her head. "I'll never forget this." Weeks passed, and spring bloomed fully across Toronto. The city thawed. The river shimmered beneath sunlight. April became a full-time staff member at the Lighthouse Project. She no longer hid from cameras or the whispers that once haunted her. She poured her energy into helping others, turning her story into a lesson about humility and second chances. One afternoon, a young woman came through the door, nervous, clutching a torn coat. April smiled and guided her to a seat. "Would you like some tea?" she asked softly. The girl nodded, tears in her eyes. "Thank you." As April poured the tea, she caught her reflection in the window, no longer the bitter waitress or the viral villain, but someone new, someone redeemed. Outside, the city glowed gold with the fading light. In her office upstairs, Angela watched from the window, Grace asleep in her arms. Harry stood beside her, his hand resting on her shoulder. "You did it," he said quietly. Angela smiled. "No," she whispered. "She did." The Lighthouse Project's hall was filled with laughter. April moved easily among the guests, serving tea, greeting familiar faces. On the wall a mural read, "Forgiveness is the first step toward freedom." Angela's voice echoed softly in memory. Sometimes, the people who hurt us the most are the ones who need to be shown what love looks like. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft, slow, gentle, covering the city in a clean white silence. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. Your love, comments, and shares mean everything to me. Grateful for each of you. Let's keep growing together. With love,